This is the most demanding job anywhere. Fighting terrorism, training for war, coming home, and preparing to do it all over again. With major operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, American soldiers must fight, reset, and then train for the next challenge. It is the rhythm of life in today's Army. And a new synchronized process now better prepares soldiers and units for that high demand while offering a helping hand to families back home. This process is Army Force Generation. ARFORGEN. Force ready, family strong. Major operations against terrorism in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places around the world have sent a clear message to America's armed forces. That message says, if America wants to successfully defend itself in this age of persistent conflict, it will require a constant cycle of freshly trained and equipped troops. That's why today's Army is drastically changing the way it mans, trains, and equips units. This change takes a new synchronized process that better prepares soldiers and units for their high demand and reduces the stress on families. This process is called Army Force Generation, more commonly known as ARFORGEN. The post-9/11 environment has forever changed the Cold War manner of preparing troops for large, conventional conflicts that lasted for relatively short periods of time. Gone are the days of the linear, tiered readiness process of force generation that kept a small part of the force in a high state of readiness, with follow-on units prepared when resources permitted. Gone, too, is the strategic reserve approach, which mobilized, trained, and deployed the National Guard and Army Reserves only once for the duration of a conflict. Today's continuous global threats demand that the Guard and Army Reserve play a very large operational role in our nation's defense.
So we face a period of extended combat unlike anything our nation has seen before. And in order to win that war with a volunteer army, everybody has to be in the game, and everybody has to be in the game on a regular, recurring basis.
In relation to the scale of operations our soldiers perform around the world today, the active Army is relatively small. So the Army needs a way to get both the active and reserve components into the fight on a recurring, predictable, and rotational basis. ARFORGEN provides that avenue. ARFORGEN is both a supply-based model and a demand-based process that ensures the Army provides trained and ready units as required by the nation. Its goal is to reset a soldier, family, and unit for future missions in a more predictable, faster, and affordable manner.
Army Force Generation is really the rhythm of the Army. It is the experience that soldiers and families and units have. The experience of coming back from a deployment, going through a period of reset in which they're able to take a knee, as it were, and recover from that deployment, followed by a period of escalating intensity of collective training leading to another deployment. It is the rhythm of life in the operational Army.
On any given day, thousands of soldiers from hundreds of units across the Army are conducting countless activities in the ARFORGEN cycle. ARFORGEN is the Army's enduring core process that synchronizes everything from developing budgets to deciding deployment assignments to scheduling equipment maintenance and barracks upgrades. ARFORGEN helps determine all those priorities and much more. Perhaps most importantly, ARFORGEN provides more predictability for soldiers and families.
Knowing the process, knowing the state of readiness that you have to maintain helps the family. The family's happy, the soldier's happy. The soldier will do what he needs to do to support the Army because the Army's taking care of the family, adding that predictability into their lives.
I think it allows them to prepare in advance. When you know what's going to happen, you have the opportunity to kind of mentally prepare yourself, much the way the soldiers do.
The ARFORGEN process gives families a better understanding of when the unit will deploy, for what period of time, for what mission, and they have a better understanding of when the unit is in dwell, or the period when the unit is not deployed. Army resources available throughout the ARFORGEN process also ensure that families are better cared for while the soldier is deployed or at home station.
Military One Source is a great resource for our families. If you have a question about a doctor in your area, or whether you need some counseling for your child or yourself, just anything really, they can help you.
The ARFORGEN cycle consists of 3 phases called force pools, where both soldiers and their families are actively engaged. When soldiers come home from a deployment or other mission, they enter the reset force pool, where they reconnect with families and communities and begin their training and re-equipping in their units. The reset phase is critical to sustaining soldiers, families, units, and indeed the Army in a long war. It gives soldiers an opportunity to reconnect with families and loved ones following a deployment, as well as opportunities for schooling, reassignments, and other activities. FORCECOM understands that the best soldiers are firmly grounded in solid family ties that carry them through the cycle of service, and the reset phase helps them do that.
They have a little bit more routine to their life. They're not running down range. They're able to spend more time with their family. They're able to take a pause from the tempo that they had in the deployed environment.
In the reset phase, the ARFORGEN synchronization tool, also known as AST, helps senior commanders synchronize personnel, equipment, and training. ARFORGEN's powerful synchronization tool greatly improves the analytical and predictive capabilities of training and equipping a unit. This, in turn, greatly streamlines the reset phase and builds predictability into the soldiers' and families' lives.
With ARFORGEN, having soldiers come in at a certain point in the cycle, in the beginning of the cycle, you can count on having these same soldiers together with you for a large part of the training. That gives the leadership a feeling like we can invest some time and effort into these soldiers, and we're going to deploy with this same team.
In a similar fashion, equipping the units also will need to adapt. We need to be able to distribute the output of those factories, of reset, of Army depots and other parts of the equipping system, so that at any point in the year they're able to produce enough new equipment or provide enough new equipment for that brigade combat team that's leaving on January 16th.
You start looking at being able to predict when you need to have certain processes ready. What needs to be in place to make sure that that unit is ready to go. And it adds predictability to the installation so they can provide the adequate support.
To ensure soldiers and families get all the necessary steps done to standard, the Army has mandated that the reset phase lasts 6 months for active duty units and a full year for units from the Guard and Reserve. From the reset pool, units advance to the Train Ready Force Pool. In this phase, units focus on collective training in order to build readiness for their next mission. Soldiers recharge their skills and knowledge by training more extensively for specific missions and building better cohesion as a unit.
Although the essence of training in the Army has not changed, the aspects of synchronizing it and timing it are different.
We try to make sure that we have the people there in a timely manner. Before, your people kind of flowed in. It was even flow as a person left, a new person came in. But now what we try to do is make sure that we reach certain metrics in manning at a certain point in time, so you've got the whole team there. And that makes it a huge difference when you start talking training. You're not taking a team down range that didn't train together.
This can take a unit from, where I can tell my soldiers, hey, right now we're at this level, and in 2 months we're going to be at another level. Like we're at crawl right now, in 2 months we're going to be at run, in a crawl, walk, run scenario. So they can understand where they're going to be at a certain point in time.
To ensure our soldiers are ready for the rigors of combat, training in this phase is often intense and lengthy, involving significant time away from home. The Army understands the added stress this can cause, especially on families, but it is part of the Army's covenant with the American people that we will not deploy soldiers and units unless they are properly manned, trained and equipped, period. The train ready phase usually ends with the unit executing a mission rehearsal exercise or other major culminating training events, demonstrating that it has achieved the required skill in the missions it will perform as part of the available force pool. In the available force pool, units are at the height of readiness, where they are either deployed or they are available to perform missions, and they have the right people doing the right job at the right time.
When I deployed to Iraq as a detachment NCOIC, we were using the ARFORGEN model. It made it easier to deploy because we had a program that we could follow.
HRC is able to take what they've got, knowing when the units are going to deploy, and get the right people there.
When the soldiers deploy, they know their families have the resources available to help them overcome any issues while they are away. The Army understands that its best soldiers are the ones whose minds are at ease knowing their families are cared for back home. It is this value that will sustain our all-volunteer force now and in the future.
Army Force Generation provides us the ability to deploy soldiers, bring them home, have them have a life at home for a period of time, and then deploy them again when they're ready and the nation needs them. And we may not have the ratio of deployment time to home time right now, but we're getting better, and we have reason to believe that we'll be at a sustainable rate in the near future. And I think that is absolutely critical to the ability of the nation to have a volunteer military.
Being a parent in the military, when one or both the husband and wife can be deployed, that makes being a parent a pretty tough job.
Supporting the soldiers and families of each unit throughout the ARFORGEN process is the Family Readiness Group, which provides resources for day-to-day living issues as well as emotional support. The FRG is critical in helping to maintain the family structure during the whole deployment cycle.
I think they play a huge role and should play even a larger part.
It's really critical to soldier readiness for that soldier to understand that his family has a safety net back home while they're deployed. And that enables the soldier more to focus on the mission when he's downrange, as opposed to worrying about what's going on back home.
Communication with the family members, letting them know what's going on, what's going to happen, when. It kind of creates that camaraderie within the family unit that the soldiers have with each other.
As a soldier, a family member, commander, or national leader, we all have a vested interest in understanding how ARFORGEN impacts our lives. By applying ARFORGEN to the active Army, Army Reserve, and Army National Guard, this model and process provides today's Army with needed operational depth and our nation's leaders the strategic flexibility to deal with the 21st century's potential threats.
The Army's the full thing, yes, I mean, we're committed to that. But at the same time, the family has to know that the Army is saying, hey, you're important.
The best way to make ARFORGEN a success for families and soldiers is to stay informed and to be involved, and to understand the process, to understand how the process helps. And once you're informed, it makes for a better soldier, a better family relations.
Believe in it. Trust in it. It's not a perfect system. It's getting better all the time. But it is infinitely better than any alternative that anybody has brought forward. So although it may have some rust spots, and you may see its imperfections, understand that this is a well-considered system that the Army has in place and is working hard to make work for you, but more importantly, work for the nation.
ARFORGEN will provide the benefits to soldiers and families that will make the Army force ready and family strong.